Hello crypto friends, checking back in on everything. We're looking at Bitcoin here to start, as Bitcoin has the momentum and the hype still carrying over. We're clearly consolidating and cooling off after the hype of the news that August 1st is not the looming event that everybody thought it might be, so everybody rushing to get back in. But here's our equilibrium pattern on the daily time frame. And remember, equilibrium patterns form most often after a big move to the upside or a big move to the downside on big volume. When you break the range that we have been in significantly, you have to create a new range. That's the normal, healthy reaction of the markets. And here we are forming multiple inside bars on the daily time frame. If we are going to get a new all-time high, which I do believe we are, it's going to happen, in my opinion, tomorrow in the second half of the day or Monday. And that's just, a guess in terms of the timing. It could happen at any point. But the psychology of what's going on for me is watching where we stand on this daily time frame in this double top and how close we are here. We're about, let's see, less than 10% from a new all-time high. Let's call it, 8% or less. So where we stand right now, you have to think, put yourself in the shoes of the bulls, put yourself in the shoes of the bears. And where we stand right now with a big sigh of relief in the crypto market, a bunch of new accounts being created on Coinbase over the past few days, and as a result of that, the hype is still here in the market. Everybody's relieving their fears. Is this a bubble? Because here we are right back near the all-time high. And it's much easier to make money to the upside than it is to the downside where we currently stand with the psychology of the market currently in place. So imagining that, big money and whales are running the space here, and they certainly are to a large degree, but they're not going to be trying to fight this market sentiment when we're this close to an all-time high. It's going to be much more profitable for them to be long and hitting a new all-time high, and in my opinion, shooting up to 3,500 once that does happen over the coming week. Once we do get that new all-time high, it's much easier for them to make money to the upside with zero resistance. We obviously saw that all of the past 4 months. Than it is to try and fight that, try and fight the market sentiment, try and fight the euphoria that all these fears are now alleviated, and try and see a move back to the downside. So that's why, psychologically speaking, I am bullish, and also the technicals have done things that keep me bullish as well. So let's look at that. So the inside bar on the daily time frame likely to form today. We've got about 8 hours left in the day. If it does break, it will be more likely to the bull side than the bear side, as we did get very, very close there, just over $10 shy. So looking at the 4-hour time frame, and actually let's go to we had a bunch of inside bars there as well. Let's go to the hourly time frame, because I pointed out in the last video, if we break this level, the low of the consolidation at that point, the odds will instantly shift to make it less likely, a lot less likely, that we see a new all-time high the following day, which was this past Friday. So in my head, I'm not calculating actual numbers in terms of percentages, but I'm calculating odds in terms of what is more likely to happen and what is less likely to happen. So every time something develops on this chart, it tweaks where I currently stand in terms of my perspective of the odds, and just related to bulls and bears. So as soon as that level broke down at 2681, I was looking for further consolidation. I was looking for the bulls to not be able to just shoot right back up towards the recent high, and knew it was going to likely play out longer. So we did see that bouncing around. Another thing that stood out to me was 2800. We had a double top at 2800, and that is a very significant, or was a very significant, resistance level that the bulls did end up breaking. But that's another event where we have a double top, and it's a very clear resistance, and it's actually given the bulls some trouble multiple times here, 3 times. And as soon as we got over that overnight, I was much more confident than an all-time high would be in the near future, because if we were to keep setting lower highs on this hourly time frame, this consolidation could last a week. But the fact that we broke that lower high pattern, it shifts my statistics in my head to be more likely to see a new all-time high sooner, because that resistance has broken. So our recent high right now is up at 2869. Let's call that 2870, which put us $130 shy of that new all-time high. So at that point, it was less than 5%. So we're very close here. And look at the volume. The volume is not significant. And normally, the volume not being significant here, to me, would be a bit of a red flag. You can see the volume's just consistently tapering off since that high. But that also tells me that the bulls could very easily push this to all-time highs. Nice little bump as I'm talking over 2800 again. But what that means to me is, if it's so easy for the bulls to make money in blue sky breakout, if we saw a ton of people pouring their money back into the bull side the past few days, and if we're pretty thin to the upside and we're moving the price without a lot of volume, that tells me that people that have a lot of money in here and have more money are likely to push the price to the upside for that new all-time high. So where we currently stand, we just hit a low. This is the hourly time frame, so that low is down at 27.40, and that is our new higher low because of the reaction we've seen over the past 3 hours bouncing from that level. Before, I was just looking for a higher low compared to this 2700 level because that was the low of our previous little consolidation. And my trading, I have been in Bitcoin. I was in Bitcoin overnight. I woke up and just really pure luck in my exit. I did exit in the 2860s, and pure luck to the degree that I recognized that we were overbought in the sense that we had seen 6 green hours in a row. And at that point, the 15-minute RSI was pretty extended to the upside. So the psychology in my head was, okay, if I can sell right now, even if we do see some further continuation, I know some consolidation in a normal, healthy manner is going to be coming up in the near term. Worst case scenario, I will be able to buy back in around the price I'm exiting. So I wanted to give myself that opportunity to reload, which I did earlier this morning, getting back in on this pullback. So I am in right now, and I am still looking for that all-time high. And really, I say pure luck because I literally just rolled over in the middle of the night and opened my eyes, and I actually struggled exiting my positions and able to, for my eyes to focus on and actually see the order book. It kind of took me, 5-10 minutes to shake myself awake to be able to execute that trade as I was scaled out. Certainly wasn't just one order, because if I were to stick up one order, that would deter buying. But because I broke it up, I was breaking it up into lots of two Bitcoin. So I was really breaking it down and just order after order after order to not scare the bulls from buying those two walls. Those little 2 orders are way less intimidating than if I were to throw up, dozens and dozens. So if you're ever looking to exit a position, break up that order if it is a decent amount, because it's a lot more likely to fill. So here, back to the hourly. So our higher low is clear. At 2800 is now looking as support, so we need to break to a higher high here and see continuation. And because of the strong move to the upside, even though the volume wasn't there, but because it was such a significant move on the hourly, I would look for an equilibrium pattern here as well. We have our high and our low established. I would look for a lower high to form, then a higher low, and a tightening range throughout the rest of the afternoon today into this evening, which is why I don't think that we will see a break of that inside bar on the daily today until tomorrow would be a better opportunity or a better chance of the bulls breaking that level. So I am looking for a bunch of hours, another 6 to 8 hours of consolidation in an equilibrium pattern. But because I'm already in my position, if that does not appear to be the case and we do see continuation, obviously I'm elated with that. And if we were to break this 2740 level, I would definitely start paying much more attention. I would probably exit my position and try and rebuy lower. So that is where we stand on Bitcoin. Ethereum is following along, but not as strong. Let's look at the daily time frame first. So look at all these resistance rejections. We did break the inside bar yesterday, but we didn't get any follow through. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is the correlation to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was coming off that huge move and seeing consolidation. And we know the Ethereum Bitcoin correlation has been very significant. It's broken at 2 times in the past week. It broke with the EEA news, and it broke with the Bitcoin fork news. So it's news events that break these correlations temporarily, and then they sync back up. So we had that's the wrong word. We had linked back up with Bitcoin. And so as Bitcoin was consolidating, we didn't see any follow through because it would have had to have literally gone inverse to Bitcoin with upside strength, which is a lot less common. So we are still tightening up. You see the range very clearly is still tightening up. And we look at this on the 4-hour time frame to get a bit of a different perspective. High, low, lower high, higher low. So I would be watching our recent high and I would be watching our recent low. That's the range that we're watching right now on this 4-hour time frame. And we will see a break of this pattern sometime, likely. Look at the volume. Look at these. It's just perfect lower high peaks. Things are settling down. We're going to see a volume spike in this space. And I do believe that the price of ETH, the movement, will be dictated by Bitcoin. The gains have not been as nice on Ethereum, and Bitcoin has a lot more potential due to the lack of resistance if we do get a new all-time high. So consider it this way. If Bitcoin gets a new all-time high and has a lack of resistance, and we see further continuation, which I think will be very easy for the bulls, Ethereum's still going to be working through all kinds of resistance levels. So we're going to have to take out, 249, and we're going to have to take out 275 if we even get up that high. But there's way more resistance on Ethereum than there is on Bitcoin, which is why I learned my lesson the other day when I said maybe I was focusing too much on Ethereum that day. Well, we learn from our mistakes, we pivot, and now I'm focusing a lot more on Bitcoin in this range. So looking at that pattern, 4 hours is what I would definitely be watching. And if you want more details, you look at the 1 hour. We're literally right in the middle of that range. So it remains to be seen which direction we will break. Litecoin, so that was a beautiful trade captured just before the last video aired. And I was really, bummed to a certain degree where that 45 break was so key. And I outlined the trade pretty perfectly in the video in the sense that, once 45 broke, it was even a bigger reaction than I expected. I was looking for $1 and I got over $2 instantly. So that you give me those kind of gains in 10-15 minutes, I will take them every single time. I don't care if the price ran up another $3 without me. And I did end up exiting in the $47 range, so very happy with that exit. But I was a little bit bummed that the video didn't get published until right after that move happened. It would have been really cool if everybody could have gotten in on that. Everybody in the chat room was certainly aware of it, but in terms of, it was literally uploading the video and I was just patiently waiting. So that was a really nice trade, exited, and have not rebought at this point. But it was a nice bounce here as well. Highlighted yesterday how Litecoin was the strongest chart on the hourly time frame because all these other names still had lower highs, whereas Litecoin, coming off that big bull move from the all-time high, is actually not from the all-time high, but up from the recovery, still had a very clear higher low pattern. So we had 44.02 support. We ended up bouncing off of 44 and a bullish reversal hammer, big time confirmation. So the only buy-in signal on this entire pullback was at the bottom. And I say that because you look back here, you had inside bars. We had one green bullish reversal candlestick with an inside bar that broke bearish. So that was a red flag to not get in. And then we had another bullish reversal candlestick, but a big upper wick of profit taking, no follow through. So there's your bullish reversal candlestick. You look back, you see it's bouncing off some support as well. And then the big volume came in and we saw a big strong move to the upside, which is still seeing some continuation. So looking at it on the 4 hour time frame, it's a little bit choppy, but the lower wicks of the bulls are buying the dips and they're trying to head back to the recent high. And they do have some solid momentum here. There are a couple uptrends we can draw. Again, I use uptrends just as a visualization, really. It's all the price levels that matter to me. And I use moving averages a lot less in this space than I do for stocks. And honestly, it's just because I haven't really needed them in the sense that the levels of the price action are so clear. I'm just going to stick with what's working. So that's what we've got on Litecoin. Bulls are in control overall. We're trying to see some recovery here. The daily chart, we do have a pretty solid upper wick, and there's some resistance right there. You can see how many times we pulled back. Multiple bounce attempts have rejected from the $48 level. So once the bulls turn $48 back into support, we're looking up at 52.61. So that's a potential, 9% right there once we get over 48 and turn that into some solid support. The daily time frame's on the verge of a bullish MACD cross, but we have to anticipate the potential that we might have to see higher lows and higher highs on the way up. It's not just going to be a straight shot unless we see a strong correlation to Bitcoin. And right now, Litecoin has the weakest correlation. Ethereum is stronger to Bitcoin, and I do believe Bitcoin is driving the show here. And let's see if Bitcoin can break. That would be very bullish if we get over 2870 here without setting an equilibrium pattern on the hourly. And we do have some big volume coming in, and I can say that because I look at this candlestick and I say, okay, last hour we had 550 volume and 550 Bitcoins trading. So right now I look and see it's 17 minutes into the candlestick. Less than 20% of the time has passed in the candlestick, and we are at 470. We're almost surpassing that, and we're going to surpass that before this candlestick is even halfway finished. So that tells me I can assume we're going to see big time volume this candlestick. Let's see if the bulls can push up to that resistance and see it break. Let's look on to ETC now, just because there was some excitement yesterday. It's a good example of not just buying the hype. So we had a rumor that ETC was getting added to Coinbase. I'm sure they will eventually, but it was just a very temporary thing. They denied it, and we just right back where we started. So there's the bull move. Tons of profit taking. Looks like whoever was starting that rumor was unloading. That's a lot of shares sold at the top and on the way down. And then right back to where we started, and then a bit of recovery. So essentially, it's almost like it never even happened with the way the bulls were able to recover. This is a significant support right here, down right at about 1580. You can see the bulls have held that a good amount of times. And resistance now, we have that high that we did see to the upside. But you look on the daily time frame, that wasn't even really a huge move. The daily chart is trying to break the lower high pattern that we are in. We have our higher low in place, but we have to break 1980 to break the lower high pattern. So likely to see an equilibrium here as well with our low, high, higher low. Maybe that's our lower high, that big upper wick. Have to see how the market reacts to digesting the fake news. So the daily time frame here is also just seeing a bullish MACD cross, so there is some potential for the bulls to keep this move up. And definitely worth keeping an eye on. If we were to break that support level, that would be my exit signal personally. So that's what we've got as we head into the rest of the weekend. Keeping an eye on this volume that's coming in and keeping an eye on the next 2 hours. The next 2 hours will tell us if we are going to likely set an equilibrium pattern or likely see a bullish break. And volume will be a good indication as well. And this this hourly volume candlestick might be the highest volume candlestick that we have seen in the past dozen plus hours. So that's definitely worth noting as well. I appreciate you watching. Hope you have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll see you sometime soon.